Okay. I'm going to go over the C clauses and how we use the different C clauses, excuse me, with different verb tenses. So we're just going to start with the easy one first. It's C clauses with the present indicative. Now, if you've forgotten the indicative versus the subjunctive, remember that the indicative is known, certain, facts, factual. The difference between the indicative and the subjunctive is that the subjunctive is the unknown, uncertain, non factual feelings, emotions, doubts, disbeliefs, denial, wishes, feelings. Okay, so it's more the sure things versus the unsure things. So indicative is something that is sure, and the subjunctive is something that is uncertain. Okay, so when we're talking about the C plus the present indicative, we have sentences that look like this, and I'll say C plus the present indicative. So we're talking about two different clauses. So in the C clause, we have C plus a present tense indicative verb. So just like you learned in Spanish 1001, 1002, so the regular present indicative verbs with C. And then you will have in the second clause also the present indicative, or possibly a future, or possibly an imperative verb. So as it says, the first type of C clause is used in cases where the condition may be fulfilled and thus the consequences is seen as possible. Okay, this is your clue right here, because when we're talking about indicative, it's something that's possible, certain, probable, right? And the subjunctive is improbable, uncertain, not possible. So when we're talking about we're using a C, if, then this, but we're talking about things that are probable or possible. Okay. So you'll see, look at this example down here. It says, if I see that they answer me in English, I will continue speaking with them in English. Or I keep talking to them, or I will keep talking. So if I see, this is present indicative, right? Veo is just your indicative, present tense, and there's a C before it. And this person who is speaking is saying it's possible, it's probable that I will continue speaking in English. So if they are answering me in English, I will keep talking to them in English. Okay, so he or she uses a present indicative in the second clause. Okay, so again, it's all about if it's probable or possible. If we're going to switch to subjunctive now, which we'll talk about in a second, that means that it's not known if the person is going to do whatever action they're talking about. Like, if this happens, then I might do such and such would be subjunctive. Okay, in this case, all these things are likely to happen. How would we change this part to show future or imperative though? So right here, we just have the present indicative, sigo. And actually, present progressive is what they use there. Sigo hablando, or they might just say hablo con ellos, just regular present tense. We could just change this to future. Si veo que ellos me contestan en inglés, hablaré, I will speak with them in English. So she might just put hablaré in the future tense. In the imperative, if I see that let's change it a little bit and say, let's say she's talking to you and she says, if you see que ves, si ves que ellos te contestan in English, if you see that they are answering you in English, and then she gives a command, habla con ellos en inglés, just regular imperative. Imperative is the command, so just a fancy word for the command. And we'll use the two informal. So if you see ves, just regular indicative, si ves. So somebody's talking, if you see that they are speaking in English, habla con ellos en inglés. Okay, so we have three different, just say hablo or sigo, hablando, present progressive. These are all the indicative. All of these are indicative. Okay. This would be the to informal command. All right, if she was saying it to usted, but we know it's to informal because it said si ves here. So it was also the to informal. All right, so again, none of these are uncertain. We're using the indicative to indicate, right? Indicate indicative that it is a sure thing. Okay, so we're using present indicative plus present indicative or future indicative or imperative indicative. So again, indicative just is the difference between, it's a mood. It's really not a verb tense. It's a mood. We have the indicative mood, which shows certainty, and we have the subjunctive mood, which shows feelings, wishy-washy, gray areas. Okay, things that are uncertain. So we can use the present tense, present progressive, the future tense, and we can use the command, all of those, as our second clause with the C clause at the beginning if there's a level of certainty. We want to express a level of certainty, probability that that action is going to happen. Okay, that's all that we're doing here. All right, I'm going to stop and I'm going to do a separate video because when these get long, they're hard to upload. And that gives me a second to regroup, so bear with me.